guys, my name is Bianca. Welcome to Vintage on Tap. This YouTube channel shows you the behind the scenes steps and process of sewing. This particular video though, we're going to be focusing on the Seamwork Camden Cape, which was voted on by my patrons over on Patreon. This video we're going to be discussing taking your fabric from start to finish, making it into a beautiful vintage inspired cape, with some details in there that I've thrown in that were not included in the original pattern, but that elevate the cape and really make it a little bit more luxe. As I said at the beginning though, this video was voted on by my supporters on Patreon, who I vastly appreciate and love very deeply. They are the ones who make these videos possible. They helped out with the lights. They helped with a new mic that we needed for the channel. Without their continuing support, none of this would happen. They really help us pay for the things that take this channel to what it is today. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I can't wait to show you guys the whole process because it's been a long time coming, but let's go ahead and get started. All right, first things first is you want to go ahead and pin up your panels on your cape. Now keep in mind that you do need to make sure that your notches are lining up correctly as you're doing all these processes. I went ahead and resized my cape. I did a full bust adjustment on the front piece, so I did have to make sure that my notches were good to go. If you consider following me on Patreon, I did do a tutorial on how to do that full bust adjustment on this cape, just because I knew I needed a little bit of extra space there. But anyway, line up all your notches as you can see I'm doing there. I'm using some simple pins for this cape. The fabric itself though was pretty simple to sew with. I did use a 100% cotton that was almost like a brushed cotton that kind of gave it this really wool sort of feeling, even though I can just throw this guy in the washer no problem. You can see there it's got like this really fun tweed mixed into it, like these little speckles and stuff. Anyway, once the majority of the shells lined up or sewn up, you want to go ahead and take care of the bottom panel that goes along the bottom of the cape. Now again, because I did readjust my cape pieces, I did have to make sure my notches were good on that as well. Overall though, sizing wise, I shortened this cape by about 3 to 4 inches because I am a shorty. I am 5'2", so it took out a huge chunk in there because otherwise it would have fit almost to my knees. But here I am lining up the bottom panel to the shell of the jacket. Lots of pins all over the place, and you can kind of see one leg of the cat there in the back if you look at the sewing machine. We tried to get her on camera, but she was not cooperating. Cool, so here I am stitching all of that together. Now keep in mind that with if you're going to be making a cape like this, you really do have to consider what is the type of weather that you want to use it in. I did not interline my cape. If you don't know what interlining is, please go ahead and watch my video about that. Essentially that's adding an additional layer in there just to make it a little bit warmer and thicker. I kind of wish I would have though, just because the cotton that I use is pretty thin, so it's more like a spring or early fall sort of piece. But that's okay. Here in San Francisco it doesn't get too cold, so as long as I'm wearing like a nice long sleeve, it's fine. Now, in this portion here, I am matching up the front panels to the cape itself. So essentially the whole back of the cape is constructed, but the front panels are not. I would highly recommend that for the armholes in the front, when you're sewing those front panels in, that you baste the opening of the little armholes before trying to do any of the back tacks. So just keep that in mind when you take care of the arms. Now, a little trick that I recommend for interfacing is you want to go ahead and put your interfacing on a big piece before you cut anything off. So what I did was I interfaced those two pieces and then I cut out the shape, so I would only have to do that once. Makes it so much easier, and so your interfacing doesn't end up like a weird size to your facing. But anyway, there wasn't any back facing on this particular cape. I did draft this all on my own. If you haven't seen my video about how to draft a facing, go ahead and take a look at that, just because the facing on this particular jacket only went up to the neck. There was no facing around the neck piece, which I really wanted. I think that it looks so much more professional. I think it looks a lot more intentional that way. I did not want the lining coming all the way up to the neck. I think it would have bothered me more just to look at it that way. So I did draft a facing that was about 2 inches, 2 inches wide. So definitely watch my video on that if you don't know how to do that yet. All right, cool. Notch everything down, and I did trim the seams right after this shot before I like permanently tacked everything in place. But go ahead and turn everything inside out, and then I also went ahead and did bound buttonholes throughout. Watch that video if you haven't already seen it. The bound buttonhole process definitely also really makes that whole jacket look a lot more professional, intentional. But I went ahead and moved on to my lining pieces, which are constructed almost the exact same way as the shell. You know, if you're using this like really slinky and silky lining fabric, you're gonna wanna go ahead and cut it out with a rotary blade and make sure you're using the correct pins for that fabric. You don't want your fabric to get all snagged and weirdly pulled and stuff like that. Cool. As you can see, it looks about the same. And then I also went ahead and used an old technique, how to use vintage lining techniques. I have a video about that because I put it all in by hand. Thank you guys again for watching this video. I hope you learned a lot about the Seamwork Camden and that you are going to be making this for your own wardrobe as well. Again, I'd like to please ask you if you appreciate what we're doing on this YouTube channel, if you like what we're making and the videos that we do, consider becoming a patron on Patreon. It would really help the channel grow, and everybody who is involved with that really gets to see a lot of the behind the scene process of the channel and what we want to do long term. So please consider doing that. If you like the video, like, share, subscribe, all the places, all the stuff, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.